Um, Hopefully, you guys had a good 2 weeks. We're almost at the end of the summer, so I know you guys are vacationing. A lot of people are vacationing, and but work goes on at Zeus, so we're continuing to plod along and get to mainnet hopefully by the end of this month. So that's something that we are working toward. Um, so just to give you an update on where we are, obviously I would have liked to see active set going, but we encountered some issues, some logistical issues that we're dealing with. We hope to get them resolved by this week. So early next week we can start active set testing. The process for the active set testing would be to first bring all the servers together, because we need all the servers, not just a partial group of servers. So we needed all of them to be online. And that's, there are a few servers that are still outstanding because some of the data centers are a little bit slower to respond. So we hope to get them online, and then we can get everybody to complete phase one. So phase one is where all the servers are together and responding and be able to be available for phase one. After we complete phase one, there is phase two, phase three, phase four, and phase five. To bring up the mainnet, to bring up the active set, which is the same process that we will go over when we bring up the mainnet. It's basically the first block view change process, and this is something that hopefully will take a day, or if all the servers are there or all the servers are present, or it could take a couple of days, depending on if we have all of the servers online. So once that process is done, the next step would be to perform the same load test that we have done internally, and basically just look at the network to see if everything is fine, if all the diagnostics are fine or not. We're also gonna do DDoS test. We're gonna do partial chaos test, because it'll be like a controlled chaos, and then we'll obviously do Cypress test, and even some of the other tests that we're incorporating, which is phase six, and the mobile and desktop tests. Those are ongoing, and those will be incorporated within our test profile. So it's an extensive test suite that we have, and we feel fairly confident on the coverage that we have for all these tests. But that does not to say that we won't have any bugs. There will be bugs. That's kind of the nature of the system. It's a huge system, if you look at our platform, it's a huge platform, massive platform, and it's unreasonable to think that we will have 0% bugs. There will be some bugs, and we will deal with them. One of the things we want to do during the active set testing is that if we uncover bugs or some of the things that we have, we want to do an upgrade, so that we go through that process with our miners and sharders, and they will basically need to update the code on the fly. So that's something we will do during the active set testing. We will also change few parameters during the active set testing to make sure that we can make those changes, and those changes are taken up by the other servers. So those are some of the things that we will do during the active set period. Now, one question is, how long would this active set testing take? My estimate is about 2 weeks. Assuming we go through all the tests with flying colors, similar to what we're doing with the internal tests. So if we see the same results, then we should be able to achieve good results. Now, After 2 weeks, then the next step would be to determine when do we release mainnet and with what sort of apps. So the what we want to do is kind of stage it. So we want to stage with mainnet. We want to stage mainnet with Atlas, and then introduce Bolt. With Atlas, you can see, the transactions. You can look at the diagnostic pages on each of the miners and charters. So you don't necessarily need Atlas. So we can introduce Atlas to the world after we bring up the mainnet. Then basically it'll be Bolt, and then followed by Vault, Blimp, Chimney, and then lastly Chalk. And then we will introduce the mobile apps and the desktop apps. So that's kind of the process, and we'll kind of stage it that way. All right, so let me go through what we have. Kind of give you a summary of where we are. Okay, so if you look at this, we have, we're basically hovering around 29 issues, but most of them are not critical. They are, either tests or something to do with the config that we need to do before we go live. So if I do label critical, there's like 2 of them. So this we expect to be done within this week. So again, there are 29 issues, but again, most of them are, as you can see, tests. Some of them are conductor tests. So these are mostly issues that are not critical, but it would be nice to have. And this will be an ongoing process, as I mentioned. There'll be continual bugs, but as you can see, the number of bugs has decreased. The inflow of bugs has decreased, so that's why we're able to keep the number under 30. So we hope that will be the case in the future. Now, if you look at some of the other issues, like for instance on the apps, we have only 22 open, which is, and they're all being worked on, so which is great. So we're getting close to the finish line with all the apps as well. So that's good to see. For mainnet, this is kind of the dashboard of all the items. We're close to releasing Chalk. We're finalizing the NFT contracts, so that's slated for August 14th, so sometime next week. Same thing with the mobile and the Vault. We had some issues with the App Store, especially the iOS App Store, where they didn't want us to include the upgrade option because that would relate to payment, and Apple discourages payment unless you give them 30%. So, which is something we don't want to give. So that's why we had to exclude till they're able to accept the submission. So it's just waiting for it to be published. We just want to finish all the requirements for the app, and then we will have it on the store. So we expect to have it on the store sometime early next week. Similarly for Mac, we will have it, but with Windows, it might take a little longer. We don't know yet. We didn't have a clear test result yet on Windows, so that's why I left the estimate as end of the month, but it could be earlier. In terms of testing, as I mentioned, load test, chaos, DDoS are doing well. Cypress is still so Cypress is composed of several components. There is Vault, Blimp, Chimney, Bolt, Atlas, and Chalk. So there are 6 items. So 3 out of 6 are passing all green. The other 3, there are some issues that we are closing, and hopefully we'll be able to close before the active set starts, because we want to have a green run before the active set testing begins. So we're continuously obviously adding tests, so that's also one of the reasons why some of them are not completely green. There will be more tests, rigorous tests added to the load test. It's called phase 6, and then we will add mobile and desktop, and we expect those tests to show up as green before we start active set testing or during that process. In any case, these won't hold us up for active set. The thing that's holding us up is some of the logistical issues of getting the servers online for all the parties. We are dealing with, lots of active set members, and each of them have different criteria, different colo, different data center, different needs. And so and Rick, by the way, has done a wonderful job of sorting it all out. It's a very complex job of meeting everybody's needs, because it's dealing with a lot of individuals that have different perspective on things. So it's hard to get everybody aligned, but Rick has done a wonderful job of getting people aligned and be able to consolidate all the information that we need in order to move forward, and as well as the distribution of our servers. Before there wasn't a clear distribution of servers, because a good distribution of servers is needed for decentralization, and also for the platform to work to infinity, right? We don't want the blockchain to stop because of one data center. And so that's something that we averted the issue, and hopefully that will enable us to to go forward and decentralize in a way that is going to be not only performant, but it's going to be it will have liveliness. It won't have any liveliness issues going forward. So as I mentioned, there are 29 issues, which is today. We hope to get this down by half. I don't expect that to go to zero. We expect that to go down to half by as we go through active set testing, because I know there will be more issues that will come up. We're still sorting out split key, zero box, HA, which we should before or around when active set starts. So I'm not too concerned about that. Again, these are not critical items. So we estimate the active set to begin next week, early next week, and we will also deploy live contracts to test out the DEX, the decentralized exchange, as well as the chalk NFT contracts. And so we expect, as I said, if we do 2 weeks of testing, we should expect by end of the month that we are ready for mainnet, and then we determine when do we launch it. And that's something that we determine. It could be within a few days, or it could be within 1 to 2 weeks. And then we will determine the order of introduction of the apps. So we have the web apps first, then the mobile, then the desktop. All right, so next I want to talk about the AMA questions that you guys had. Okay, so the questions that you guys have, so I'll go through all of these questions. There are like 7 questions. The first question is, the percentage of miners with 0 services did not change from January. How come only now? Is it an issue that we have too many people with them? Could the team have communicated this better? Yes, we didn't want to, showcase that this is a problem, but this has been ongoing. We have had ongoing conversation with Zero Services for a while. It's not that we did not address this issue, is that, we didn't, we felt that this could be handled internally, and but anyway, it's resolved, so now we can move on. um, Question 2: how much storage do you hope to have available at launch? What do you see as a possible target after 1 year, for 1 year after launch? So as Zero Chain will have 15 miners and 5 sharders, as well as 15 blobbers. So we already have now 20 servers that we ordered in multiple data centers. I think we're using like three data centers. And for storage, we will use colos. We will buy the servers and we'll use colos. So we'll buy like 15 servers each, probably around 50 terabyte. So if we do a 10, 15, 10 data and 15, 5 parity, then we will have about half a petabyte at launch. And that's what we intend to have, because we want to make sure that we have enough storage for our apps, Vault and Chalk. We want to see consumption, and then once we see consumption, we will basically scale, and we hope others do too. It's not just we scale our storage; we expect others to scale as well. There are some providers that have a lot of capacity, in the order of several petabytes. So they will also participate. So we anticipate our capacity to be north of several petabytes at launch. So I don't foresee an issue, because once people see that there's consumption from the apps and also backup storage, then we expect more and more people to participate on our network. Question 3: can you explain in detail how many ZCN we need to stake for a blobber? I understand it depends on certain factors. Can you explain those factors and also give an example for someone looking to start blobbing at launch? So the simplistic answer is this: the easiest thing to do would be to to buy a server, and you can buy like a refurbished server, which is something that we want to do. If you look at the history, AWS started with essentially refurbished servers, which were part of Intel. They bought the Intel data center and were able to offer that service. So you can buy them very cheap, and then use colos, because the colos are around $100 a month, and that will give you the low baseline cost for your storage. And then you can offer storage at a certain right price that you feel comfortable. So the right price would be obviously determined by what you think the ZCN value would be, not the value what it is today. So it's kind of hard to determine, but you need to fix a value of ZCN that you are comfortable of receiving. We encourage people not to charge for reads. So the read ZCN would be 0, and the write ZCN would be something that you can come up with based on, let's say, what do you expect the ZCN value to be? Is it $1? Is it $5? Is it $2? Is it $10? But it should be in those terms, because if you base it on the value today, which is I think around 10 or 11 cents, then you would put a very high value on the right. And therefore, if a customer is looking for a low ZCN, your blobber may not get selected. So the key aspect is what is your right price. So you need to determine what the right price would be, and you want to stay close to the average right price of the network. So there will be a right price of the network that basically everybody is converging towards. So if you're close to it, then you'll be fine. Your blobber will basically get picked. Now, and then as once you determine the right price, the amount you have to stake on a blobber is based on how much capacity you want to provide. Let's say I want to provide 50 terabyte. Let's say the capacity of the blobber is 50 terabyte, but you want to provide, let's say, 10 terabyte, then the amount of stake would be 10 terabytes times the ZCN per terabyte. Does that make sense? So that's the simple way of staking. Now, do you want to stake all of your storage? It's really up to you. If you have a lot of tokens, I would stake all of it, right? If you don't have enough tokens, then but have enough capacity, you can stake only some of it, and then as your capacity gets used, then you stake more tokens. So it's really up to you how you want to stake, what your staking strategy would be. So those are the thing. There are basically two factors. One, you want to keep your read price zero, and you want to keep your write price to be close to average on the network or low, or what you think the value of the ZCN would be. So you want to have it low enough so that it will attract people to store data on your platform, right? And then the other factor is how much you want to stake. How much of your available capacity do you want to stake? If you have a 50 terabytes server, do you stake 10 terabytes or 20 terabytes or all 50, right? And then that will determine your staking. Okay, so read price, write price, and amount of storage. That's it. That's all you need to know in terms of staking on a blobber, and then you're good to go. So it's fairly simple, and if you so we will have the Chimney app to walk you through, and it's very simple. It's just a few steps, and basically if you use that workflow, it's very easy to have your server participate on the network. In future, we also want to provide a service where we can basically go through a workflow where we basically help you buy a server, put it in a colo, and be able to rent it out. So that process, once we go through it, we'll encourage other people to have it, and then we can also offer services based on that if you need help. So we will provide management services for that. Okay, so item 4. Do you have data center interest in blobbing at launch? How about enterprise users looking for storage at launch? Yeah, so this is the kind of catch-22 because you need consumption in order to have a lot of interest. We have some interest from the data centers, as you know, and most of them are entrepreneurial in nature. So these are going to be smaller. An example is Zero Services or some of the other guys that are on the active set. They're entrepreneurs. They're providing enough capacity at launch. Some of them are Filecoin miners. So you will see people from Filecoin also coming in over to our platform to provide storage because this is something they're already doing, and it's easy for them to add a server to participate on the network. In terms of consumption, which is the key, we're looking at enterprises to use our platform for backups, which is low risk and high return in terms of availability, security, and performance. So we are talking to enterprise users to use our platform for backup storage. And of course, we have our apps, which is Vault and Chalk, that's gonna consume storage. So those are the three areas we are focusing on in terms of getting people to use our platform as for backup storage. First, once they store data on our platform and they get confident, then you will see a lot of S3 data coming into our platform. So that's something, obviously we'll work to switch people from S3, AWS S3, or Cloud S3, traditional Cloud S3 to AWS, to Zeus. But that's not going to happen overnight. I would say it's step by step. First, we get the backup storage because that's almost zero risk for people to store backup data. And in fact, think of it as another storage layer, a cheaper storage layer for people to store data. And so once they see the performance, once they see the capability of our apps, then the hope is that we will now will be in a position to convert their storage into their S3 storage into decentralized S3 storage. So that is the big picture, and that's our strategy in getting the data onto our platform. Now, there's obviously the bulk of the storage today that you see today, or the bulk of the market today that you see, is S3 storage. So, and we are the only platform that can really compete effectively with traditional S3. So, if we can, because we outperform them, we provide better security, we provide better availability, we can switch, we can do a multi-cloud, we can switch providers on the fly. So there's a lot of benefit for people to switch over to the the blockchain storage platform that we have. So we will see how fast the adoption would be, but it's anybody's guess how fast the adoption would be. Question 5. I've heard servers outside of main hub of Europe could have latency issues that come with the penalty of reduced rewards. Is this still an issue, or has this been resolved? So we will see. That's part of the active set testing. We will test during active set. As far as I know, all the servers are within a short distance because they're either in the eastern part of the US. I don't think any, or the mid US to Europe. And Europe, when I say Europe, I mean like Germany, Helsinki, around that region, London. So I expect the performance to be not an issue, the latency to be not an issue in terms of rewards. So, but we will see what the rewards are. We will be able to see it, and then we can fine tune some adjustments that's required to make sure the rewards are at parity. Question 6. Can we get an update on the team financials? Do we still have considerable run rate at current funding levels? Yes, as I said, we obviously, we are delayed in getting the mainnet out, and that affects raising the funding. But I usually make sure that we have enough financials for at least 12 months. So that's still the case, but we expect to raise funding, right after mainnet. So we don't anticipate, and again, the mainnet is slated for in weeks, not months. So we expect that the financial part won't be an issue. The last question, I understand it might be premature for such inquiries, but could you share any upcoming strategies for expanding the ecosystem beyond the initial 6 apps? Are there intentions to incorporate stablecoins or DEXs in the ecosystem? Yeah, so we first let me answer the last part. The DEX is already part of our apps. We also will have Stripe for credit card for purchase of storage if you don't have tokens. This is for the mainstream. So all the apps are geared for mainstream, as well as addressing the crypto market where they can acquire the tokens through DEX platform. So that part is already taken care of. Now, in terms of additional apps, I don't think so. We will basically add features for the 6 apps that we have. We have a lot of things that we want to add to the 6 apps. And that's something we will do in the future. But in terms of having an additional app, that's not on the plate, at least for the next year. All right, so I think all right, I think I've gone through the questions. I don't see any questions from the chat channel. I hope I'm live. So anyways, I hope we get in the next AMA, we should be able to showcase the results of the active set testing and be able to in a position to let you guys know when we can release the mainnet. We are close, very close. We see the light at the end of the tunnel. I know I have said it several times, but right now I do feel that that we are very close. The last final part was the active set, and that's resolved. There are some logistical issues were resolved, and we look forward to moving toward mainnet. It's been a long haul. It's been 6 years, and I hope to take a vacation after we release mainnet. So I'm looking forward to it. All right. So till then, thank you very much for joining this call. Also, if you do get a chance, we will let you know, by the way, some of the things that are happening with networks is that we are constantly updating the networks. So it might be tricky to try the apps out, but we will announce when you can try the apps out. And certainly during the active set testing phase, you guys should be able to try the apps that are on the active set. So we'll try to make that happen, within a few days. That we're still redeploying the network with the new code. We want to have the latest code on the network so that you guys can use the apps and be able to provide your feedback on Discord. So that's something we would love for you guys to do. And so, but just wait for us to give you the word, so that we don't want to waste your time on it. All right. So great. Have a good day and have a good weekend, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Take care.